I've just finished putting together my brand new portfolio and I've already started sending it around town. It's a selection of what I think is my best work from the past 6 years, but a good chunk of it was actually shot in the last 6 months since moving back to Sydney. And that's because since moving back to Australia, I've been doing a lot of thinking about the kind of work I want to create moving forward, because broadly speaking, my portrait work right now falls into one of two categories. On the one hand, there's my studio portraits with a clean, minimal backdrop where the entire focus of the image is on the subject. And I really like these images, but the reason I call them studio portraits is because in reality, not a single one was actually shot in a real photo studio. They've been shot in my kitchen, lounge room, office boardrooms, pretty much any space that I could find that's available at the time. And then there's my environmental portraits, and these are portraits that are shot out and about in the real world. And in my opinion, it really elevates the portrait because it's no longer just a moody image of someone. It's now a moody image of someone with a bit of extra context, a bit of extra story, if you will. Because you look at one of these images and you really start to wonder, who is this person? Why are they there? Who are they waiting for? What's going on? And all these questions you ask yourself to kind of fill in the blanks really brings the story to life in your mind. And that's why I'm such a fan of environmental portraits. And while I love shooting studio portraits, and I'm going to continue shooting studio portraits, the kind of work I really want to focus on moving forward is my environmental work. So since getting back to Sydney and being reunited with all the ridiculous pairs of glasses I've bought over the years, that's what I've been focusing on. Really beefing up my portfolio with environmental portraits, the kind of portrait work I really want to be booked for moving forward. And that's what I'm going to share with you now in my new portfolio. Okay, that's better. So, portfolio time. I was lucky enough to get a portfolio review from my favorite portrait photographer of all time, Dan Winters, and he said, you should open with this image. And at the time, I didn't have as much environmental work in my portfolio as I do now, but if it's good enough for Dan Winters, it's good enough for me. So I'm opening with the Dan Winters recommended image, Caesar, in black and white. And hopefully this gets people to at least flick to the second page. And this is my mate Dan, and I really like this one. The colors are great. I love Dan's yellow shirt in the browns and cream color of the pub. I love that he's sitting at a table and all the chairs haven't been set up yet for the day. It kind of gets you wondering, who is this person? Who is this guy? Is he an early patron of the pub, just waiting for them to hook up the taps and start pouring 10 a.m. beers? Or does he work there? Does he work at the pub? And is he wondering about all the dreams that he's not currently working on while he's pouring frosty pints? I don't know, that's what I think when I see this image, but what do you think? That's why I love these environmental portraits. But I'm a big fan of this new image of Dan, which is why I'm opening with it in my portfolio. This was one of my favorite shoots in Toronto. This is a gentleman called Andrew Ingham. He opened up started a new wine company. I've got a sticker on my laptop somewhere. Yeah, right here. Interpunked. As you'd imagine from the brand, bit of a punk kind of theme, fuck the establishment sort of thing. So we thought, let's shoot a punk rock image. So we shot this incredible image at a dive bar washroom. I think it's fun. I think it's a bit risky. It's very brave. It's seedy. It's epic. This is everything I love in an environmental portrait. The wine magazine refused to run it, which I don't know, does it get more punk rock than that? So this image never actually ran. A much safer version ran, but this is my favorite image of the shoot. This is one of the few images I have in my portfolio from before I left to move overseas, but I just love this image of my friend Jason. He's just, this lonesome guy sitting with a bunch of empty glasses under a slowly sad, deflating happy birthday sign in a suit. What's going on? Why is there no one at his party? These are the questions that really draw you in and get you fixated on this image. So I'm a big fan. I love this shot. This is Ariel, a very, very talented artist in Toronto. Dan Winters said very nice things about this image, so I've left it in my portfolio. And it's just got this real dystopian kind of vibe with the concrete balcony and these little slivers of towers you can see. And it was really overcast that day, but she's got these splashes of bright color paint on her top and on her pants, and she's got these cool boots. And I don't know, I just really like this image. I think it's great. She's like framed in a frame of the window, and then there's the curtains, and it's just nice. I really like this image. I'm going to say that a lot about my portfolio because I know I'm happy with the images that I've chosen to to include. This is Ash. This is a super talented art director that I used to work with at Ogilvy once upon a time when I used to work in advertising. And this is just a really cool mural on the front of like a roller door here in Marrickville. I thought it was really fun. Got these beady, evil red-looking eyes of these magpies, and obviously the Australian slow down sign. And there's Ash with a cool red hair looking like a boss. I think it's a really fun image. This is fresh work. It's only a couple of months old. A shot of Chelsea. This is a co-worker of Michelle, really funny comedian and super talented strategist. I was shooting a bunch of portraits on balconies when I was in Toronto, and right when we wrapped up and we finished shooting the portraits looking out into the sunset, we turned around and just the front of her place kind of, I don't know, got this really like old school kind of cabin vibes. Felt very, I don't know, like something you'd see in a little European cabin. And there was one light, which I thought was kind of cool. So got her to stand under that, really symmetrical, really neutral sort of expression from Chelsea. I don't know, it's a fun image. I like this one. This is Boris. This is a creative director I used to work with at Ogilvy. Big fan of this portrait. When I was showing my work in Toronto, I would always ask people if there was an image or two from my work which they liked, which we could kind of use as a starting point moving forward. And this one often got called out. I love the look. I love the backdrop. I love the position of his arm. I love his outfit. Love his sort of graying goatee. Big fan of this shot. Tam, the musician I met in Toronto, and this is the stairwell of the building I used to live in. I know, I love the little hand movement, love the hand that's kind of awkwardly sitting in front of him, cool jacket, cool pendant around his neck. John, so he launched an agency called Junior, or co-founded an agency called Junior very, very recently with a friend of his and business partner called Ryan. And I went out and shot some portraits of them when I got back to Sydney, and I just really loved how this one turned out. This really like steely-eyed gaze. I love the big, bold JNR, obviously short for Junior, and this kind of sandstone wall that's got a bit of graffiti and covered in vines. I think this one's just fun. I really like how this one turned out. This is Ralph. This is my old boss at Eardrum, like head creative honcho and founder of the agency Eardrum. He wanted a cool portrait in this purple sound chair. And right behind Ralph is actually a really big roundabout. So it's kind of a weird spot to take a photo, but these kind of big bundles of these like grass I thought was really cool, along with the road in the background and the building and the lights. I thought it was really cool. It was like sunny AF, which you can tell, it's so bright here. But I really like how this picture turned out. Ralph looks like an absolute badass. And it's just in this bright, harsh, you can see the backlight there, just incredibly harsh sun, but this turned out really, really cool. I'm a big fan of this image. This guy gives walking tours of all the hidden rivers that are in Toronto. We went on one of his tours. I thought he was a super cool dude and snapped this portrait a few weeks later. I just love the gaze. I love the backdrop, just this entire wall of green. This is what summer in Toronto looks like. This is all my environmental work, which I've really been focusing on. This is Esther Clarahan, a very famous advertising recruiter here in Sydney. She's the one that actually got myself and my old art director, Carl, our first job in Sydney when we moved from Brisbane. So caught up with her, snapped some portraits. It's very, very simple, but just I like the splashes of color and the cushions and this cool painting that her mother painted right behind her. She just has this like steely-eyed expression, and I love the little the point of the finger. Just these tiny little details I quite like. So in this case, I love the finger that's just kind of pointing down. This is Zach. This is a director I used to work with at Ogilvy. This is a stairwell that goes under a train track, but I thought it was really cool, and I just love the look. He's holding one of my old cameras in his hand. He's a director holding a camera. Yeah, the prop's kind of nice. And I thought this was a cool image. Adam, or Hutch, used to work with here in Sydney. We walked around Marrickville. This is right near where I live. he was game to jump up onto a bin, and I think this is a fun portrait because, you know, not where you'd usually see someone taking a portrait. I wouldn't call someone sitting on a bin revolutionary or anything, but I just think it's interesting because it's not the kind of thing you see every day. This is Tomic. He's founded a company called Engineering Design Lab, who I did a bunch of work with in Toronto, and this is their really cool workshop / office space. I just love the perspective of all this shelving and all these tools and awards and accreditations across the top. I think it's really, really interesting. Okay, so now I'm into my into the portrait work. This was a really dramatic and interesting black and white portrait I took of Tomic. I just thought it was really interesting. I love this dramatic black and white work, as with the opening shot of Sisu in the cowboy hat. I think it really shows off some technical skill. It's interesting, it's moody. You don't need to capture all the details to create something, you know, evocative. Big fan of this shot of Tomic. I really like this portrait. This was one of my earlier portraits when I started shooting portraits again in Toronto. Dan Winters said very nice things about this portrait. This used to be the first image I opened up with until he suggested starting with Caesar. So now we start with Caesar. But, you know, I love the catch light in his eyes, the little flick of his hair. It looks, this one turned out great. Valerie, she was very cool. She had a job where she worked up north of Canada in Nunavut. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that properly. It's like a province of Canada along the top. Very, very cold. So we got this cool portrait of her in this enormous, like, you know, rated to -40 jacket, which I thought was cool. Love this portrait, just such an interesting looking guy with the freckles, the eye, the slight red tinged goatee. Again, just these very simple, clean, beautiful portrait. Love the way the hair flows. I love the way this scarf, it's a little splash of orange. I just love the introduction of the hand on the glasses. I think it's really, really cool. This guy makes video games, hence the video game controller on his hand. Looks like a pretty scary dude, but, well, he's got a video game controller on his hand, but he's the nicest guy ever. I have a lot of amazing portraits of him, but this one's my favorite. I really enjoy using color, like colored strobes. This is 2 lights, one orange kicker that gives the light on the side of his head and the background, and then the key light, which lights his face. Actually the same light I'm being lit with right now, just a continuous 150 watt Godox light. I think this is the only portrait I still have in my portfolio that I shot when I lived in Amsterdam. This was a founder of a tech event. I think it was a VR event. Lovely guy. This is shot through some fairy lights at a shopping center in Amsterdam. I just really like how it looked. It's very simple, very clean. It's very raw. But I just think it, you know, the glasses, the colorful vest or sweater he's got on, the hair, it just turned out really cool. I'm a fan. I love these out of focus bits of fairy light. I need to do more shoots like this actually. Elle, this is a new portrait. She does many things, but one of the things she does is started this fan company called Fan of You. And she brought a bunch of these really cool fans to the shoot. And I just like how it breaks up this like bottom quarter of the image and just really gets you focusing on her eyes. So I think this is a really cool shot. This was a portrait taken outside, so I guess you could call it an environmental portrait, right on Lake Ontario. He's behind him right there at sunset. So you get these really cool colors in the background. I just like the steely-eyed look. It's soft, it's beautiful. I'm a big fan of this portrait. This was a photographer I met in Toronto. I just thought, this is literally a happy accident. He blinked midway through a portrait shoot of taking some dramatic black and white portraits. And it's just a really nice, quiet moment. Why does he have his eyes closed? Is he dead? Is he sleeping? Is he blinking? Is he cringing at some terrible joke I just tried to crack? Probably all of the above. So that's it. That's my portfolio. Thanks for sticking around this far. One thing I do actually struggle with quite a bit is picking my best work. Like there's work that I like, that I find my favorite for whatever reason, but sometimes it might not actually be my strongest work. So second, third, fourth opinions are super, super helpful. So If you see something that feels a bit out of place, maybe in the order of how I've assembled it, or it just doesn't feel as strong as the rest of the work, shoot me a DM or comment below or send me a carrier pigeon or whoever else you want to get in touch, because this kind of feedback is really, really helpful in assembling a body of work, and I'd be very, very, very appreciative. So thanks for your time. Hope you like the work.